The glass slipped from her trembling hands and shattered on the floor. The sound sliced through the laughter and music in the Navy bar, sharp, final, humiliating. 3 captains, uniforms pressed and voices thick with arrogance, turned toward her. One smirked. Another raised his drink. The third leaned back and said, "Guess she's only good for washing dishes." Before she could bend to pick up the glass, the laughter spread, like wildfire through dry grass. Faces turned. Whispers rose. And for the first time in years, she felt the weight of a name she thought she'd left behind, Lieutenant Commander Elise Ward. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The bar's dim light flickered across rows of medals on the captain's uniforms, each one polished for pride, but dulled by ego. Elise said nothing. She only looked at the broken glass at her feet and the reflection staring back, tired. Eyes, scar across her temple, hair pulled into a messy knot beneath a faded worker's cap. She exhaled, slow and steady, as if counting down to something she didn't want to begin. No one there knew the truth. No one knew the woman scrubbing tables and collecting empty bottles had once commanded an entire strike unit, until the day she refused an unethical order that cost her career. Her silence was her exile, and this bar was her penance. But some nights, the ghosts didn't stay quiet. Captain Reeves, the loudest of the 3, slammed his drink down. "Hey, Dishwasher," he called out. "You missed a spot." His words dripped with mockery. The others chuckled, raising their glasses to join his cruelty. Elise straightened slowly. "Sir," she replied softly. Her voice carried a calm that unsettled even the bartender, who froze mid-wipe. "That spot you're pointing to," she said, "is your reflection." The laughter died abruptly. For a heartbeat, silence filled the room. Then Reeves' smirk widened. "You've got a mouth on you," he said. "Maybe I'll teach you some respect." He took a step forward, but the man beside him, Captain Doyle, grabbed his arm. "Leave her," Doyle muttered, but Reeves shook him off. "Nah, let's see how far this dishwasher's attitude goes." Elise's hands curled into fists. She thought of the code she once lived by, honor above all. But she also thought of the women she'd seen humiliated, silenced, discarded by men who wore the same stripes as these. A storm built behind her eyes. The air grew thick, heavy. Conversation stalled. Even the jukebox seemed to go mute. Elise took one step forward. Her boots, Old Navy issue, echoed across the wood floor. "I'm not your dishwasher," she said. Her voice was steady, low, commanding. "But I have cleaned up bigger messes than you 3 combined." The third captain, younger and quieter than the others, shifted uneasily. "Reeves, she's not worth it," he muttered. But pride was poison, and Reeves had swallowed too much of it. He reached for her arm. Big mistake. In one fluid motion, Elise caught his wrist, twisted, and slammed his hand flat against the bar. The thud was loud enough to make bottles rattle. A gasp rippled through the room. Doyle lunged forward, but Elise sidestepped, sweeping his legs from under him with military precision. The younger captain froze mid-motion, unsure which side to stand on. The crowd erupted, not in violence, but awe. For a moment, time fractured. The sound of boots, the crack of knuckles, the scent of sweat and oakwood filled the air. Elise moved. With cold precision, not rage, not revenge, but control. The kind that only comes from years of command, from battles fought where silence was deadlier than sound. When it ended, Reeves was on one knee, Doyle groaning beside him. The younger officer stood rigid, eyes wide. Elise let go, stepping back, chest heaving but eyes calm. Someone in the corner whispered, "That wasn't self-defense. That was training." The bartender finally spoke. "Who are you?" Elise didn't answer. She reached behind the counter, grabbed a discarded towel, and wiped her hands clean. "No one important," she said. But her gaze lingered on the officers sprawled before her. At least not anymore. The younger captain spoke, voice trembling. Elise Ward? The bar froze again. That name carried weight, the kind written in reports, whispered in training camps, and buried beneath politics. The name of the woman who once led a rescue operation through enemy lines to save an entire squad, including a man named Captain Doyle. The same man now lying at her feet. Recognition hit him like a blow. "It's you," Doyle whispered. His voice cracked. "You saved my team in Coral Bay." Elise turned away, but he caught her sleeve. "Why are you here?" You were decorated, promoted. I refused a command that would have cost innocent lives," she said simply. "And the Navy doesn't forgive disobedience, even when it's right." Reeves, still holding his wrist, muttered bitterly, "You ruined your career for that." She looked down at him, her voice quiet but unshakable. "No, I protected my soul." That line hit the room harder than any strike. The laughter was gone, replaced by the sound of hearts remembering how to beat. Outside, rain began to fall, steady, rhythmic. Elise stepped toward the door, pausing just long enough to glance back at the three captains. "Respect isn't given," she said. "It's earned, and sometimes reclaimed." As she pushed open the door, the younger captain stood. "Ma'am," he said, his voice full of something raw, guilt, admiration, maybe both. "Permission to speak freely?" Elise turned. "I was one of them," he said. "One of the ones who believed what they said about you. I'm sorry." Her lips curved, not quite a smile, but close. "Then change how you lead," she said. "That's how you make it right." And with that, she stepped into the rain. Minutes passed before anyone moved. The captains looked at each other, the weight of shame thick between them. Doyle stood first, brushing dust from his sleeve. "She could have ruined us," he said quietly. "But she didn't." Reeves sighed, rubbing his wrist. "She did something worse," he murmured. "She made us see ourselves." In the distance, Elise's silhouette disappeared into the storm, head high, shoulders straight, as if every drop of rain washed away a piece of what the world had tried to bury. And those who'd mocked her now stood in silence, realizing they hadn't been in a bar that night. They'd been on a battlefield, and she'd just won without drawing a weapon, because strength isn't about the uniform you wear, it's about the courage to stand tall when the world tries to make you kneel. And that night, the woman they called Dishwasher reminded everyone that honor can be stripped, names can be erased, but true dignity always finds a way to rise. Before you go, tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were Elise? And if her courage hit home for you, make sure to subscribe. Because more stories like hers deserve to be heard and remembered. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back.